art is so much more powerful when it does come from that place and it's not an external drive, it's an internal drive. And obviously I could quote so many books about just shipping out the work, getting the work done. Cause like 90% of people say they want to write a book or say they want to do something.
Or have a podcast.
Or have a podcast.
We were
Taryn
talking,
Scali.
I know. My name is Francesca Phillips, and you're listening to the Good Space Podcast, a show where we help you find peace and power in work, relationships, and intuition. Hey, welcome back to the Good Space Podcast. Today, I have a really exciting topic to talk about: the creative self, creativity. And I brought back a guest that I've had before, my best friend, Taryn Scali. We talked about my Taylor Swift story. So if you haven't listened to it yet, make sure you go back and check it out. We'll link it in the show notes. She and I first met through a mutual friend, but then over the years, as creative women ourselves, we've connected on writing music, on writing, just everything to do with creativity. It's always been a big part of our relationship and just the way that we ourselves move through the world. And so I thought she would be a great person to talk with us about it. So Taryn, welcome back.
Glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right. So there's like three main parts I wanted to get to with creativity. And if you're listening and you either are a writer or a painter, illustrator, even if you have a corporate job somewhere, but you love to scrapbook, collage, like anything that's creative, this episode is for you, because I cannot overemphasize and say enough how important a creative life is, how important the creative self is. And Julia Cameron, in her book, Write for Life, she's also the famous author of The Artist's Way. She talks about how the creative self or the writer self is the inner self, and that the two are one and the same, and that creativity and writing, especially, obviously, because that's what she does, is a connection and a portal to the divine, to what God and the spirit wants us to create with our lives and to make an impact with. And so I have recently just been so touched and impressed upon the idea of the importance of stories and claiming our experience by living in it. And what I mean by that is Stephanie Sellers, an amazing, amazing author who was on the podcast, episode 100, she talked about how to remove implicit biases against women in society. The way we do that is by telling our stories, by living in our experiences and claiming those experiences. And it stuck with me. And that made me even more committed to a creative life and inspiring that in others, giving yourself the priority of the creative self, of acknowledging it and nurturing it. It truly is the portal and gateway to our truest self. It grounds and connects us to what's honest and real within us. To ignore it is death. It's death of the soul. When the soul dies, nothing else is truly worth living for. I mean, nothing else is truly living. Would you agree with that, Taryn, or what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely totally agree with that. That, just like we were talking about the other day, I feel like a lot of unhappiness and even all the way to addiction and more serious problems sometimes can stem from stifled creativity and a person not really expressing who they really are, or even just expressing their creative desires, abilities in any way. Just stifled creativity is death, because I believe that I agree with everything you said. And I also believe that creativity, when we're engaged in creative pursuits and expression, also gives meaning to life as well and purpose. And it makes you feel like, you know, you're making your mark, even if it's not in a public way, you know, that you are fulfilling the measure of your creation, basically.
Absolutely. And I also think as well, for some people, it's a safe way to express trauma or emotions that they may be experiencing, but don't feel safe enough to release it in other ways. And I feel like creativity can be that vessel to just integrate, process, release. So
100%. Absolutely. Dancing. Oh my goodness. Dancing, singing, even if you feel like you can't sing, you don't know how to sing, but, you know, trying to attune your voice to music, listen to music, painting, anything is very therapeutic as well. So there's definitely healing opportunities through creativity as well as everything else we talked about for sure.
Yeah. And there's actually therapists, psychologists out there who use artistic means as a way to do their therapy. So even if you listen to this and you're like, actually, I don't really know what I would do creatively, but having that as a form of therapy would be great. Well, there you go. Go check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really interesting because over the last year or so, my relationship with myself has kind of evolved where I see my creative self as like the child self, right? I always think of when I was a kid and how I used to dance and songwrite. And I've started to morph my relationship to where now I'm the woman protecting the child within me. And now I'm looking for ways to nurture her, make her feel happy, make her feel safe being the creative person that she is, and to be that spark. And it made me also think about, why do most people deny their creativity? Like, why don't more people do it? Some of the reasons I thought were, okay, well, delayed gratification. It's a lot harder to think of something from nothing than it is to scroll or watch TV or consume something. A lot of times it's valuing money above all else. Yes, you can make money from creative endeavors, but it's more of an unknown. And I think the unknown is part of that as well. Like if you go to a corporate job, you know what you're getting, you know your likelihood of climbing up the ladder. There's a path and a timeline, whereas creativity is more vague. And so there's the unknown. And then also art is vulnerable. There is nothing more vulnerable than creating something and putting it out in the world. And it's literally the closest that we get to someone's soul. So it's fragile, it's powerful, it's profound, and it's the connection we all crave. But connection can be scary. So I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, like why people deny.
Well, the first thing I thought of was just, busyness, having to pay bills and just the practicalities of life. I live in LA, so it's, you're in traffic and you're working and then you go home. It's like you're tired. The last thing you want to do is anything really, and then on the note of vulnerability, I can totally relate to that because I did not truly express my comedic talents, my music talents, because every time I would put something out there, I just felt like the worst feelings ever. And I'm grateful that I'm to the point where I don't feel those feelings anymore. And it's not that I don't care what people think, because we all do to some degree, but I don't care what people think. I'm just putting it out there because this is my story. These are my experiences. And this is what I'm here to do, is to share my creative, stories, as we talked about. I'm so grateful that I don't feel that way, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that do. You put it out there and you just think, oh my, it's like a wave of anxiety comes over you and you just think, oh my gosh, everyone's going to hate this. This is so stupid. It's that negative voice in our head that's talking us down and putting us down when we are, finally sharing. And it's just continuing to practice sharing and moving past that voice is a very, very difficult thing because it is vulnerable,
Absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot that can feel at stake when someone wants to do creativity, especially if you're not in the practice of it. I find that if you're not used to doing things daily or chipping away at it, that can also, there's just so many obstacles to entry, I feel like, because there's just so many things you could do that it's like, okay, of the millions of things that I could possibly do, I'd rather do what I know or keep going down the habit track, So yeah, that can be really tough. So, okay, let's give a little bit of background then on like our connection to and journey with creativity, just so people can understand that side of us a little more. Do you want to go first?
I was singing coming out, I came to this world singing. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And that was my goal, is to become a singer. Unfortunately, I had a music teacher that discouraged songwriting. And I actually started songwriting very young, and she discouraged that and said, oh, great singers don't write their own songs. It was just a bunch of garbage that she brainwashed me, unfortunately, when I was younger. So, and you know what, to that point, there you go. There's another reason why people don't pursue certain creative endeavors, because of a voice that came to them at an impressionable time in their life that told them, some stupid lie like that. Like, that was the dumbest thing she could have ever told me, because I had the gift of songwriting. I have the gift of songwriting, but that wasn't developed until later on in my life, because I had that ingrained in my head that great singers don't write their own songs. And it's like, now I don't even like singing other people's songs. I don't connect with it. I can only sing my own songs. So it took me a long time. And I think there's a lot of voices, not just a teacher, a parent, whoever. On that note, I had a bad experience with an ex-boyfriend a long time ago that made fun of my dancing. I loved dancing, and he made fun of it. And it was like so traumatic in that moment. And I didn't dance for many years because I felt very embarrassed of what people would think about me. I love dancing. It's a great creative outlet. It's therapeutic for me. I enjoy it. But I had it in my mind that I was this terrible dancer, that I shouldn't dance because I was embarrassing myself because of that comment of that person. I was always pursuing a career in music, but I do not come from a background of many means, and so I had to work from a very young age, and that was always a big obstacle for me, because when you come from a difficult financial background, your survival needs absolutely come first, and you're kind of programmed to be in survival mode. And so you would like to pursue this, and I was pursuing it. I didn't really see a way that I could make a living with it, because I was so programmed for survival to like have to do these jobs I don't like in order to make money. And I don't think that was true at all. Everything has happened for a reason, and I've learned and grown, and I'm still on the journey, and will be till the day I die. So
I know more of the details, but no, that's a good like kind of overview. So my first question is, despite all of the things that often work against creativity, and especially in your life, what has kept you going? Let's paint the picture. Like you're still songwriting, you're working on getting stuff happening in that realm, but you also have other, basically like it's not your full-time thing, quote unquote, financially yet, but it will be. So with everything that you have gone through, tell me what keeps you going and keeps you knowing that creativity is valuable and that it's worth pursuing, that it's worth developing for yourself?
well, all of those experiences, and obviously there's so many personal trials, aside from, I mean, just growth as a human being up to this point has made me the best I've ever been at songwriting. And so it's inspiring when I have written and I can see the progress and I can feel the progress, because I'm like, okay, like these songs are getting better and better, and to where I'm, for the first time in my life, really appreciating my own work. I used to hear my songs and be like, oh, I hate it. It's terrible. I didn't want to hear it. Like I would just embarrass myself, even if people were enjoying them. I just had this story that they were horrible. And it's like, no, the songs that I'm writing now, it's like, these are born of real experiences in my life, joys, pains, all of that I believe will impact other people for good. Because I think we're all here sharing our stories, as you talked about from the beginning, just to help each other on our journey and to inspire people. And so what keeps me going is I can feel that progress, and I know that it's for a reason. It's to be shared. So there's a time for everything, and everything that I've been through in my life has prepared me for now and prepared me for what's coming ahead. And I don't believe that I continue to get better and better just for no reason. I think that I'm getting better and better to be able to share them, and to share them on a much larger scale, and to continue growing. But even if that didn't happen, I am expressing myself into the fullest way that I possibly can through the means of songwriting and singing and story. So even if it never goes big or whatever, I feel good that I'm actually not just letting it be inside and just be yearning to come out and dying to express, like it's actually coming out. And I just think it's creating a more meaningful experience for my life and helping me to be the person that I'm meant to become. And we're always becoming.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that, because what I hear is, one, you feel it's your purpose and your calling. So you're honoring that, because a lot of people, if they don't see like a outcome or financial means. They just stuff it in and then they do what they're supposed to do, quote unquote, that society tells them. Which again, you got to pay bills. So I'm not talking about paying bills and surviving, but I just mean like literally some people there has to be like a monetary value or like a purpose that the world puts on creativity before they'll actually start doing it. And I love that you're like, no, the value is the expression, the connection, the storytelling. It's above and beyond just you as a person. And it sounds like that's what's kept you going. And then also that you would do it even if nothing did come of it. And I think that's even more important. And that's kind of where I'm getting at with my creativity is there doesn't have to be an outcome or a number or a goal or a certain, milestone in order to justify being creative. It's like, no, you can be creative because it's who you are and it's how you express and connect and do these things. But I think often people mix the values that the world teaches us to have with true, internal, honest, raw values that actually matter to us.
It also is definitely therapeutic for me because it helps me to process events and situations that were devastating or really heartbreaking. And then just, not just on the sad side. I mean, although the songs I've been writing lately have been more sad just because I've been processing fairly recent events and healing through those. And so it's therapeutic as well, just for my own growth. Like I said, like to help me to overcome things, to express it and put it in a way that is a beautiful expression of what I went through. It helps me to overcome and heal as well. So that's been very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is really great. And that's the thing too, is you, and I mean you listening, and I don't know if this is your situation, but some people feel afraid to express creativity as well because they think they have to share it or that someone will see it. And it's like, actually, you can be creative just for yourself. So I am a writer and I do morning pages every morning, 3 pages stream of consciousness. I don't show that to anybody. It's just for me. And I use it to just get anxieties, worries, things out of my head. But then I also will use that time to ask questions. Like, for example, I am writing a book and I felt inspired to write this for years now. And the light bulb went off like, oh my gosh, the message that I could sing from the rooftops till the day I die is the importance of creativity. And I know that's what my book needs to be about. So every day I've been writing at least 1 page because I don't want to overwhelm myself. But I remember the reason I knew I was supposed to do it is because of those morning pages that are private that I don't show anyone. And I said, what am I supposed to be doing right now? What's my purpose? And it just flowed out because when you're writing, the mind to hand connection, it's almost like you're writing faster than your consciousness can comprehend. So the truth actually comes out. And so that creative personal practice has then influenced things that are external that my family or that my friends or that the world sees. So don't underestimate the power of creativity, even if it's just for yourself. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Well, on that note, I mean, I think you should tell everybody where you started and the brief background to how you got to where you are, because, where you started. And then obviously when we met, you were really heavily pursuing music as well. And, how you've grown in the different stages to get to where you are and how your creativity has started from one area of writing into a different area. Not that, you're a great songwriter as well. So you will continue to write songs at a certain point, I'm sure. But tell everybody about your story too.
Okay. So, and the funny thing, I'm going to tell my story. If you listen to the podcast from the beginning, like the first episode, I do go in depth about some of my background. So if it's a repeat, just consider it a refresh. But essentially, my whole life that I can remember, at least as young as I can remember, I've always loved writing. I'm a millennial and I used to watch Harriet the Spy on VHS, and it was this character that would go around her neighborhood with her composition notebook and she would write down things she would see, like, this seems odd, this seems weird, there's a bird flying, I'm gonna write this down. And it's like her adventure of I don't remember it now, but I remember she catches the bad guy, and it's all because of her writing and observation. And so I would go in my neighborhood with my composition notebook and I'd be like, there's a dog over there. That seems weird. There's a bird flying over here. And I thought I was so cool because I was observing my neighborhood. And that was really my first experience with the power of observation and then writing it down and sharing a story or what I'm experiencing. And so from there, I remember specifically, okay, I was in daycare at the time because my mom had to work in addition to my dad. It wasn't later on, she was able to stay home, but for my childhood, she wasn't. So I was in daycare in the summer. And I remember walking up to this group of girls that had made a little fort with these big bookshelves, and they had a little cassette recorder. Oh my gosh, I'm aging myself, but they had a little cassette recorder and they were playing the Spice Girls, and it was Wannabe, and it had just come out. It was like 1997. And I remember being like, what is this sound? Who are these people? These sound like amazing women. Like, I just remember like my whole body just like electrifying. And I was like, who's this? They're like, it's the Spice Girls. And I'm like, what? And I was like, I need to know everything about this group. And like, the more I learned about them, it just latched on. And I remember from that moment, I wrote my own songs. I put together a girl group and a boy group in the daycare and had them perform the songs. I like raised money to go perform Spice Girls at the local.
I did not know this. This is amazing.
This is insane. I'm like,
I love this.
What kind of child was I? I colored pictures with crayon, and I'm a horrible drawer, and I sold them for 25 cents. And I think I like made enough to make $14 or something. And then I called the venue. It's like this little gazebo in Tucson in the middle of nowhere. It's like a Western, like venue. It's the stupidest thing ever. But I remember calling them and they're like, oh, you don't have to pay. You can just do it for free. And so I was like, okay. So like I raised the money for no reason. And I ended up getting like a Spice Girl doll. But then I got my friends together. We literally had a sleepover. We stayed up all night picking the outfits and like the choreography. We literally had 20 outfits. And the next morning we're like, wait, there's nowhere to change. So we just have to wear one outfit. But we spent the whole night just planning every single song. Like, it was a full on production.
Do we have video of this? That's what I want to know.
I think my dad has pictures of this, but then he has. So that wasn't the only time. Like, as I kept growing up in grade school, I would do the same thing. I would pick songs. I would get girls together. I would choreograph the dances. We would perform at school assemblies. He does have a video of one of those performances. And I took it so seriously, Taryn, you would die laughing.
No, I was the same way. I did the same thing. My mom would be like, she would be stunned because I had called all of the girls. I remember one time we did a performance and I arranged for us to do the tie-dye shirts and the matching and the whole thing. I would arrange the whole thing. So we were like music producers. We were show producers as well.
100%.
Like singing songwriters.
Yeah. Like, it was like, you go all the way or no way. And I was like,
exactly.
Man, if only my parents knew how to like channel that and tap that, maybe I'd be Taylor Swift. Maybe we would both be Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
Right now.
And you know what's funny too, everybody? So Francesca is from Tucson and I'm from Phoenix. And those are cities in Arizona that are about like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Little did we know when we were little that we were just not that well, I'm older than you, but not that far away from each other. Both, I would rehearse in my front yard with my friends and
love that. Yes. Yeah. And by the way, Taryn and I met in Los Angeles when I moved there after high school, and you had already been there.
We both moved to LA. Yeah, we both moved to LA to pursue the dream.
Yeah. And so as I grew up, I still loved music. I even got somebody to pay for my vocal lessons when my parents couldn't or wouldn't pay for them because they were like, we don't want you to be.
They were not supportive of you.
No.
Yeah, they were supportive of you, of course, but they just wanted you to make a more practical choice.
Yes,
because for them it wasn't practical.
Yep, yeah, it was more fear. Like they wanted to convince me that you'll be I don't want to see you be a waitress for the rest of your life. So that,
not that there's anything wrong with being a waitress, but
there's nothing wrong with that. But they just thought you would be trying until you died and never make it. Basically, is what they were saying. And so actually, this is great because, like, these little stories and instances, they teach us a narrative and a truth as kids that we don't realize we're internalizing. And I feel like as a kid, even though I had these like clear, strong desires and goals, the fact that I had to go find someone to pay for my vocal lessons told me this is going to be hard. Like, I already don't have the support of my parents. I was, from their actions and like other things. And granted, again, they love me they just were scared because they
Right.
also knew how the entertainment industry is, how dirty and disgusting it is. So like,
Yeah.
I can't blame, like they actually cared about me. So I get it.
Yes.
But in my brain, I would, I internalized, and this is hindsight. Like I didn't know this at the time, but looking back, I was like, yeah, I thought maybe I can't make this, but I want it. So I'm going to keep going for it. I internalized that maybe I'm not that good because not that I didn't think I was good, but I felt very insecure about my love for music because when I got the lead role of Annie in 8th grade, all these girls were like jealous and upset that they didn't get it. This was in a Catholic school, by the way. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade, or no, freshman year of high school. Yeah. Oh, she went to Catholic school? I didn't know that. That's
as far
amazing.
As I'm aware. Sorry if that's incorrect, but I'm 100% sure she did.
I mean, I think she's Sicilian, just like I am.
Yeah.
So
she's Italian Catholic.
Yeah, I love it. Who I think she's very talented. But anyways, so like Catholic school was a whole other traumatizing thing because I clearly had a passion for music, for singing, for songwriting. I actually had books full of songs, and I would have my friends sing with me during recess, and we would sing them and perform them and have different parts and stuff. So like I was doing it. I mean, as far as my kid brain thought, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, when I got the lead role, there were girls that would like sit behind the curtain and I couldn't see them, but I could hear them. And they would be saying really rude things about me, or even parents. I had a mom come up to me, not the teacher, because I had solos in church. The music teacher is the one that chose the solos. So it's not like I forced her to give them to me. She gave me the solos. And I had a mother come up to me and was like, and I'll never forget this because I was just in shock. She's like, why don't you let someone else have a chance singing solos? You're singing them all the time. Like, why can't you give my daughter or someone else a chance? And I'm like, okay, like, why are you telling? So basically I kept feeling like I didn't belong, or like having these dreams was a sin, or it made me weird. It made me different than everyone else. And like, I started becoming insecure about my talent. Like, oh, I have to always be proving something. And I just didn't realize that like people can only behave from a place of what they see as possible for them.
Right.
So my parents were behaving from a place of what they saw was possible. That mother was just being rude and insecure, whatever. But it's like, that had nothing to do with me. And I'm sure you can look back too and be like, with instances where people made you feel less than or dimmer or smaller, that was them, not you. But yeah, so then after that, I still was like on the path. I'm like, this is happening. I'm going to Los Angeles after high school. No matter what anyone thinks, I don't really care. And I did. After high school, I found a way to get there. Taryn and I met shortly after that. I networked for like a year or so, or maybe 6-7 months. And then I finally got my first job in the music industry. The person who gave me that job, we still keep in contact to this day. She's pretty high up actually in music. She's been VP and executive in like different songwriting, publishing houses, all these things. She's an amazing person. I'm so grateful for her. But she gave me my first chance, and it was with Rock Mafia Records. So they were writing the albums for Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, back when the Disney train was really blowing up. A lot of those famous albums they were writing. I would be in the studio when those artists were there. It was like my world just completely changed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in it. I'm in the flow. Even then, I would still meet people that always fought against my desire, my dream. Met a few people where one of them, who was a famous singer on American Idol, met him through a mutual contact. And like, he was a very toxic person, but he would say things like, I have set friends in Texas who are way more talented than you. Why are you getting this chance and not them? And blah, blah, blah. Like, people can be really crazy when you put yourself out there creatively. And I hate to say it, but I started almost believing this. Like, it's so hard, as I'm sure you know, Taryn. Like, first of all, it's important who you surround yourself with. And I feel like I had a lot of people that supported me, but there was also people who like said the rudest things, and it like messed with my head a little bit. And so that's really tough, especially when creativity it's a love, it's your heart, it's your soul. And here you are stepping on it. And it's like, that's not fun.
Well, because you are being vulnerable. And so, when you have a negative reaction to it, it's just like getting hurt. You don't ever want to expose yourself to being hurt again.
The information you're hearing is what I wrote for our daily email, The Good Space Daily. So if you're already signed up, you'll have these tips and writing in your inbox. And if you're not already signed up and you're listening to this after the fact of us dripping them out live, we'll make it so that when you sign up, you can specifically ask for these emails and get them dripped out to you when you sign up. And that's the same with all the other topics and themes that we'll be covering for Feeling Your Best. So if you want to get these short daily reminders to access your authentic self in all areas of life and get resources, chances to win things, all of the good stuff, then make sure to sign up now. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to findyourgoodspace.com. After that point, I started working with a music manager, with major recording artists. I was handling tours, photo shoots, video shoots, everything. Like I literally was meeting and talking to everyone, and Taryn got to come along on a lot of that. Radio Disney Music Awards, we were backstage and Timbaland was there. And we're just like, what is our life? And I mean, Taryn, you've had some of your own amazing experiences.
It's just been such an interesting journey as friends because, as I mentioned earlier, I am a few years older than Francesca. And so I feel like we've run parallel lives in a lot of ways. And a lot of things that I had already experienced or situations that I had encountered, I could help Francesca navigate because I had already been through a lot of the stuff that she was encountering in this environment that she was in. So it's just been so interesting how we not only been run parallel lives creatively, but also we're both committed to personal development as well. And just, our growth personally and professionally over these years, it's just been really fun to be alongside Francesca and to see her growth, and just to share our experiences with each other has been really, truly magnificent, really.
Well, and I'm so grateful for you. And to me, that just shows how much God does care about us and our happiness and our joy and our creativity. Because I feel like if it weren't for you and for Henry, and like, I think it was mainly just you two that really took an interest in like my well-being. If it weren't for you, I would probably be way worse off. I mean, I knew people who one day were on the Disney track and the next they're heroin addicts. Who knows what would have happened if I had the wrong people around me? So,
well, same thing with me as well. Like I came very close to some very, very big opportunities, especially at a really young age. And looking back, I'm actually grateful that those didn't come to fruition. I think they were for my benefit and for my protection, just because of who I wanted to become and ultimately what I wanted to experience in my life. And it definitely would not be a drug addict, would not be on on that list, or, and it's not even that. It's just, even just very good people can just be surrounded by the wrong people and get influenced and just get on the wrong path. So I think we've both been very blessed in that way to have been protected while still having the experience of pursuing our dreams. And, we're still on it. So
100%. And I've come to believe more recently that if something is meant for you, one, it will be yours. And two, to your point about certain things not working out being a blessing, I look back too and I'm like, I wanted certain successes so badly and they didn't happen. But then I was like, wait, I would not have been able to handle it as that person then. Maybe now I would, but I'm so blessed that I didn't get it, because I feel like I'd be able to handle success much better now than I would have back then. And it's like, great, I didn't burn any bridges. I didn't like have a big spiral downfall. And so it's like, oh, whew, okay.
When it comes to success or, the creative pursuit, my definition of success has definitely changed, because to me, it is a success when you actually do the thing and create. When I overcome the obstacles to finishing an idea, a song idea that I get, which I have so many in my iPhone notes, and I have so many melodies and lyrics and half-written songs. And when I actually move past the obstacles to complete, that is a success. That was not my definition before. I think it was all about like, well, it has to reach a certain point, or I have to be making this amount of money, or I have to be involved with these people or whatever to make it a success. It was more about that than the actual creative process and just completing creative expression. So I don't know if that's been the same for you, but
yes, 100%. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that's the healthiest way to look at it. And also, I feel like we can be more honest and actually more prolific and more powerful with our creativity when it comes from that place first. I think you hit it on the head really well. Like, art is so much more powerful when it does come from that place, and it's not an external drive, it's an internal drive. And obviously I could quote so many books about just shipping out the work, getting the work done, because like 90% of people say they want to write a book or say they want to do something
Or have a podcast.
But or have a podcast. Taryn Scali. Taryn Scali. But that's the thing. Most people don't actually do what they say they want to do. Yeah. So like by actually creating a song, finishing it, by actually writing a book, finishing it, just the act of doing that puts you ahead already 90%. Again, not about competition or anything, but you're right. Like the actual like essence of important creative work is actually just doing it and making it a personal pursuit. So going back to my stories. So I end up working with the music manager in LA, meeting all the famous people. I literally have like top of the top contacts in my phone. I have access to like any concert I want. I have access to any publishing house that I want. My boss put me in front of different songwriting houses because I was like, well, I don't want to be a singer anymore because I saw behind the scenes what it looked like. I didn't like it. Maybe I'll songwrite. I go meet with songwriting people. They're like, oh, are you prepared to be locked in a studio for 17 hours a day? I'm like, no, I want to go live my life to have something to write about. So I just said no. I might have handled it differently now, but I just felt like I was stuck. And then I had the big blowout about Scooter Braun with my boss. At the time, this is pre-Taylor Swift, but at the time I wanted to work for Scooter and I met him at the Radio Disney Music Awards. You were there with me, Taryn. One of my artists was performing. And so when I saw Scooter was there and he had just got off stage, I asked someone to show me where he was getting off. I talked to him briefly and he's like, let's talk. Let's have you come to the team barbecue. And I was like, yes, this is my in. I get to work for him. This was before he sold anything, obtained any masters. Like this was like the beginning of that. So Scooter, I had his cell phone and he messages me and he's like, hey, did you tell your boss about you coming? And I said, no, but I'll tell him just to make, just to be loyal and make things right. Stupid 22-year-old Francesca Taryn. Biggest regret of my life. But then again, I feel like everything works for a reason.
Yeah.
I wish that I would have been more brave. Like this is the biggest regret. So I tell my boss, who's a fellow manager. So to him, it was like the biggest offense that I wanted to work for another manager. He's like, F this, F that, like yelling, screaming.
Which that just shows you, by the way, that he was really not committed to your success and your growth, because anybody that is going to support your, if it's time for you to fly away from the nest.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
No, exactly. And no offense, but like Scooter had way more going on. He had philanthropy. He had major artists. He had like all these pieces working for him. So I wanted to be a part of it. And I try not to be mad at myself, but this is just what happened and I can't change it. But, my boss calls Scooter on the phone and says, starts yelling at Scooter. And then Scooter messages me and he's like, you can still come if you want. And I didn't. That is my biggest regret of
the crazy
today.
thing about it is I don't even remember that, because I know for 1,000% I would have said, you better pack your bags and get on the first bus to Scooter Braun's place. Like, I don't remember that.
Yeah. But I feel so stupid. He's like, well, you can still come if you want. And I thought, well, I've been with this person 3.5 years, so I don't want to like stick it to him. And then the woman who gave me my first job in music, a month later, I met with her and she's like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I can't believe that he stopped you from moving forward and advancing. But this is the thing, like my 22-year-old brain couldn't understand sexism, couldn't understand the bigger things at play. And he really was putting me under his thumb. And I'm just like,
well, and also, just like also couldn't understand, like you're being loyal to somebody that literally was not loyal to anybody else but himself. And that's not, you know what I mean? Like it just was all about him. And that's just, how a lot of music executives are, just, ego driven and whatnot. And it's just like, but we live and we learn, and we do young and you don't know.
It was a very toxic situation. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and why I ended up leaving music, because I just felt like I had reached the end of the road. I was burned out. I was resentful. I was tired. So I leave for a temp job. And then after that, like 6 months later, my husband and I get engaged. We moved to Switzerland. And then my life is how it is now, where I like moved there for 3 years. I reconfigured what work looked like for me, started the Good Space. Now I'm in New York. It's like fast track to now where I write emails and books, and I want to get back in songwriting. But I will say I didn't create for many years songs. I couldn't even listen to music. I literally, not even until the last year, I hardly listened to music because I couldn't let myself enjoy it.
I went through periods like that too, which I think that's like a whole like podcast topic in and of itself. So I won't go too far down that road. But yeah, no, of course. I mean, my relationship to music has been like a relationship with a person, it's been up and down. It's been,
Well, if you're listening and you think that would be interesting to talk about
let us know.
Let us know, because seriously, same. Like I couldn't listen to music because it was painful. And my therapist had to be like, well, can you just enjoy it? I'm like, no, because I'm so angry. I'm so angry. And every time I listened to it, I just went back to that place. So anyways, better, much better now. I'm not fully there. But as I think about the times in my life that people, and I know this wasn't supposed to just be about how creativity, like people stop creativity, but I feel like this is a huge reason too why people don't do it. So it's important. So the things I learned was, one, people can only behave from a place of what they see as possible, right? If others don't see creativity as valuable or that you can become successful at doing it, then they're not going to see that possibility for you. So you want to make sure you know who's telling you stuff, and if you're taking it in to believe what they're saying and if it's good for you. Two, people don't actually know what's going to work.
Oh my gosh. Well, and listen, from the beginning, you had talked about traditional paths of becoming a lawyer or whatever, what the path is. In music or entertainment, there's literally no rhyme or reason to how anybody becomes successful, because it is so a number of different factors, from luck to timing to the people there's just so many. It's unpredictable totally. And there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. So,
None.
Yeah.
So if someone says, oh, you want to be a this, well, you can't do that. It has to be XYZ. No. Who says, screw you, I'm doing it the way I want to do it, and you just go.
That
you
is
just
the
do
one
it.
of the biggest things that I learned, is to follow my intuition, because I had people tell me, I cannot even tell you how many times I was on the cusp of the newest like wave of stuff, but it wasn't quite there yet. And they were like, oh, what? Spanish market doesn't like R&B. Why would you do a Spanish R&B song? Are you kidding me? Spanish R&B is huge. You know what I mean? And mixed with reggaeton and different styles. Like I was evolving as an artist, trying different things, and I would be, just on the precipice of some new wave, but everybody has their own dumb opinions, and you cannot listen. You have to just go with your own intuition of what you want to do and just express it and go with it. Yeah. Because everybody has an opinion. Trust me.
100%. And I can tell you from being on the behind the scenes and being in the industry, someone like Taylor Swift or whoever other big name that you're thinking of, they had to say, no, I'm driving the train. This is my vision. This is because there's so many people that think they know and they have so many different motives. That's an example of like the only way she could have gotten there is by having her own vision and just like demanding that it happen a certain way. Otherwise, you just get lost in other people's opinions and then they're on to the next and you're just left in the dust. So, okay, so the fourth thing or whatever number this is, we get to decide what things mean to us. So even if someone does doubt you or say things, remember it's our choice to integrate that what they're saying, even if we integrate it at all. Like you don't have to care about someone's opinion. They don't know what they're talking about half the time. You don't have to make it like a valuation on you as a creative. You are the only one that holds that power and knows what it is that your vision and your calling is. So yeah, we get to decide. Don't allow other people's insecurities and traumas to define you or dim your light. And then, yeah, again, I was just thinking, be your energy's gatekeeper. Like when someone has an opinion, filter it. Who is this person to me? Do they actually care? Yeah, question it. Do they care about me? Are they knowledgeable enough to give the opinion? Does it even matter? What's their motive? What do they have to gain or not gain by telling me this? Does this feel true or right for me at this time? Boom. Everything goes through that filter. And I'm telling you, yeah, it's makes life so much better. Gosh, I feel like this went all over the place, but it's just like something that's been on my brain of like, people, you need to be your creative self. You need to forget what everyone's telling you, forget what those stories are that are you're telling yourself. and freaking make the thing. I don't care if no one sees it but you. I don't care. Taryn doesn't care. We want you to start creating and connecting to your creative self. And maybe I'll have to do an episode of ways you can do that. So this is from someone on Instagram, and I didn't actually ask if I could use their name. So I will just say it's a reader/listener. She said, lately for me, I'm trying to find that happy medium of dreaming big, but not having big expectations. I read In Simple Abundance, which is a book that I've shared all the time by Sarah Bombronic. So she read in Simple Abundance recently about how the ego is the one setting the expectations. To truly create for myself and not worry about the how or the when is especially hard for me because I've had such a marketing/advertising driven mindset for so long in my career. Whenever I think of posting something on my creative account, my second nature is to think, how can I make this most engaging for people? It is taking a lot of unlearning to just make art for the sake of making art, but I also want to have dreams with my art too. So that's her struggle, which I feel like I relate to that on so many levels. Do you have an answer?
You go first.
Okay, so I feel like, I don't know, I always think of this analogy of composers, and I forgot if it was Hans Zimmer or someone else, but they said when they create music for movies, that the moment when they make the soundtrack to when it's edited, he said that when it's edited, that's when it's no longer ours. It's like the public's, and that he said, a lot of the fun sounds or notes are often taken out to fit the flow of the movie. And so he talks about how those initial stages of making it is for him and for the musicians to enjoy. But then once they release it for its purpose, that it's not as special, quote unquote. I don't know if I'm not saying it exactly right, but I feel like for me, I dream big for sure, like making a book, writing songs. To me, that's dreaming big. And I put everything in it that I can. I connect with myself as best I can. But then after that, I release the outcome and I say, it's not up to me how it's interpreted or used or where it goes. It's just up to me to create it. Like, God, you have to take the rest of it. I'm sitting in this chair. I'm opening my document. I'm here to write. You have to give me the content. First and foremost, the foundation needs to be there of, I have a creative practice. I'm doing this for my joy and my joy only. And then as you're creating for your joy and your joy only, I think it's okay to have dreams for your art. Like Taryn, you write songs all the time.
100%.
And you do it from your soul. You do it from your experience. You do it therapeutically. But then you're like, hey, I'm posting this online. I'm trying to get it placed with an artist. Like, I think you can have both. I don't think it's either or.
I agree with everything that you just said. And we actually touched upon it earlier where, like the goal has changed, the goalpost has changed, and the goal was to make it in this certain industry. And now the goal is just to really create and be really great at what I'm doing. And so and I love, I don't know why when we were talking, I was thinking of Tom Bilyeu. He says, be so good they can't ignore you. And I just feel like the more and more you create for that purpose, just to reach your fullest potential of what it is that you're creating, that people will resonate with it. It will connect with people. And, and then you can maybe put on your marketing hat or have somebody else take it and market it. If there's just a way for her to separate that, because those are kind of two different, areas of the brain, the analytical and the creative. The marketing side is more of the analytical. So if there's just some way of her, I don't know if it's centering herself, focusing in her heart before she does the creation and just releases the expectation as basically was stated in the question, basically, that she'll have a much better experience and a more authentic experience of the creation of the art. So just focusing on centering, releasing expectation, and worrying about the marketing of it later, because it will market itself if it's truly from the heart and truly from your spirit and your soul of, what you're creating, basically. So that would be my advice.
I love that. No, and I love how you said creativity and then marketing brain. They're two parts of the brain. And I'm going to bounce off of that because I've been realizing that the reason people appreciate art, whether it's songs, pictures, videos, it's because of the perspective of the person creating it. we're tired of seeing sameness. We're tired of just seeing marketed packaged things. So the fact that if you can sit and just create for your own joy, that means you're creating from your unique experience, knowledge, practice, skill, talent. That combination altogether is not going to be the same in someone else. So if you're literally just creating for your joy, I am now seeing your perspective on the world. And that is the most powerful thing you could offer. And then like Taryn said, then worry about the marketing or then do the marketing. For example, my friend Taylor, she for years was like, I don't know how to grow my following. She's like, I just really feel passionate about people feeling good in their homes. And that inspires your creativity, your spirituality. But I don't know how to like connect with people. So she finally just got like over it. And she's like, okay, I just need to get my house in order. And so the only way I know how to do it is just doing one project a day. So she just started recording something that she herself felt connected to and needed. She's literally blown up from like maybe 4,000 or 5,000, I don't know, to over 100K in like 2 months. She just is like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it's because she's sharing something that's very honest and true for her life that can help other people. And so I feel like if you can just get to an honest place and just have a love for it, then the rest will follow and it will come.
And I understand because I have a day job. I have my own business that requires very much the opposite of creative thinking. I mean, I do have to be creative in problem solving for clients, but it's a much, much different mindset and brain function that I have to get into. So I have to actually do practices that shift me over. And, you brought up a great book from the beginning, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. There's exercises that you can do to help you get in that free flowing mode and out of the analytical. But I have to make a conscious effort to do it because like even we're having a conversation about creativity. After this meeting, I have to go and speak to somebody about a legal issue, which is like totally not, it's the opposite. So like we do have to wear different hats and we have to shift and it is possible. But each person can find their own individual way of doing that, but there's lots of tools. And, I think we've covered a lot of things that you can do to be able to shift that mindset and release the other side to fully express yourself creatively. So
for sure. I swear, if you just get a notebook and you ask yourself that question, what am I supposed to be creating right now? See what flows out, what comes out. Make that thing. The marketing will follow. I promise you that. Who it's supposed to reach, it will follow. Or if you're not a writer, go take a walk. Ask yourself the same question. What am I supposed to be creating? What's my purpose right now? The answer will come and then you do that thing. And then the rest will follow.
Everybody get out there and create whatever idea you've been thinking of, whatever, or you're like, I'd like to take a dance class, or I would like to maybe, write something or whatever. Just do it. Take an action, 10 minutes a day. That's what this message is all about, is get out there and express your creativity.
Yes. Well, thank you, Taryn. This went much longer than I was planning. I'm sorry.
Well, it always does because we love talking to each other and we have lots of ideas to share. So hopefully people have enjoyed this. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thanks a lot.
If you like what you're hearing so far and feel inspired or changed or just motivated after hearing this message, please consider joining our membership. We work so hard to dissect information and make it simple and digestible for you so you can go out in the world and be a light, connect to your authentic self. And we really want to continue being that landing place for you. So if you're considering even one message or brand to support, we hope that you'll consider ours. And if you want a link for that, it is in the show notes. Now it's time for an affirmation. I embrace my creative self and give it the priority it deserves. If you found today's tips inspiring or thought-provoking, share it right now on social media and make sure to tag me at Francesca A. Phillips or at Find Your Good Space, and also weigh in the comment section at findyourgoodspace.com. You can find links in the show notes. And if you have a spiritual or mindfulness problem that you want me to unpack on an upcoming The Good Space episode or an awesome manifesting story you want to share, give my podcast phone line a ring right now
at 917-719-0867. Also, don't forget to download my free morning routine guide. It's what helped me reduce my anxiety, increase productivity, and so much more. The link to everything I mentioned is in the show notes. See you soon.